All right, guys. This is gonna be our first video about our short block. Well, we're starting with a short block. I know it being a long block build. This is seems to be our most popular build. It is a B series sleeve block. I would say the block itself is capable of. I don't want to say all of it. It used to be all of it, and then we figured out what all of it was. And what started happening was we started splitting blocks down the middle. So we won't get too much into that. We might talk about it here shortly. But currently, this block on the table is just a B18A1 that has been brought back to life. We pallet these things up and ship them up to Perfect Circle in Virginia. Those guys work some magic for us. So basically what this block has actually been painted and stuff. I did not do that. We picked this one because, well, we picked it randomly out of the floor. We had several. But this thing is sleeved. It's a wet sleeve. It's closed deck. They do very, very well for us on the street. They do very well for us on the track. This block, I would consider this block being good all the way up to wherever billet block land is. Like, that is kind of a ratio of how much money you have versus how much horsepower you make. So there's an argument for a billet block at 1,000 horsepower. There's also that's probably the bottom end. I would have no problem running this block to 1,000. Some of the selections on the parts we put in would be different, but for right now, this block that we have in front of us, we are assembling with a 500 to 700 horsepower goal. 5 and below, it can be ran there, but we might pick a different wrist pin for the piston and things like that. So to start with the block, all of our sleeve blocks that we have done, we have them done with an O-ring and a step deck. So what does that mean exactly? So first off, the step deck is really, really simple to understand. If you would like to check this out, you've got this area of the block where the gasket, the outer portion of the gasket rods, and you've got this inner side area where you see the O-ring groove. And this thing's raw bore. It's not been bored. It's not been honed. It's not been cleaned since it was out of the CNC. But what it is this portion right here is slightly taller than this portion. What that does for us is it gives us more clamp force here, because the fuse on most of these Hondas, the issue is blown head gaskets. Blown head gaskets have been the bane of my existence since like 2001. Now there's a point where you want a fuse, but it's not at 700 horsepower. We can easily make these things last at 700 and don't need a fuse. So we want to seal this deck up as much as possible. These have about a 1.5 step based on my measurements. So basically all I did was kind of set this on the flat deck, run the feeler under it, just to see where they stepped it to. But a 2 won't fit, 1.5 fits fine. There we go. That is the step deck we go with. That is step 1 of helping the head seal. Step 2 of helping the head seal is the O-ring. All of our blocks are O-ringed. I've had a lot of questions about this. We have in my car and several other customer cars tried out all the different ways to do this. There are many different things. On the street car, we like to run an MLS gasket. MLS is like to put it basically, 3 pieces of stainless gasket stuck together. That is kind of like the industry standard for what most of you guys are going to do, and that's great. When we do that, we run the copper gasket, or the copper O-ring, I'm sorry. We run the copper O-ring, so we run a MLS gasket with a copper O-ring. We also could run a copper gasket with a stainless O-ring and receiver groove in the head. You can flip that around and run the receiver on the block. There's a lot of different things we've tried on my car over the years. We've got the bullet gasket, or I think that Howard at Darton actually makes some of those where there's a copper seat that snaps into the block. But for most of you guys, the way that we're doing it is like more than acceptable. It's the best. It's the best for you, and that's why we do it. We're picking the average best for all of our customers. That's the copper O-ring. So basically, what we got is this roll of copper wire, which is very, very, very similar to the copper wire that your mom uses to hang pictures with. Not exactly the same, but it can be used in a pinch. This wire is 040 thick. And so most of the time what we do is they cut a groove in that thing. We end up running somewhere about 10 protrusions, so it sticks out of the block a little bit. So when you put your gasket on and you torque your head down, it actually smashes that copper and helps it seal around the combustion chamber. So those are the things that we do to try to make sure you don't have any head gasket issues. Quality of the copper cuts at the tips make a difference. You don't want to have a big gap and things like that, but that's something we'll cover in a later video. You can get away with quite a bit there as long as you're not completely retarded. Can I say retarded? Mm-hmm. I said retarded. Don't be retarded. Anyway, so that's what we've got on the block here. These blocks have been very solid for us. Very, very, very low cases of anything, being done. Sinking sleeves and whatnot of the old days. We do see it happen. It happens very rare and it's handled very well. So in the past, since I'm old now and I've been doing this for so long, I used to see sleeve blocks leak out the bottom a lot. And I noticed that these blocks tend to have some sealant around the base in here. It's got a lot of stuff to keep it from rusting. I don't know if you guys can see the sealant around the base here. I'm not a sleeve installer, but I did notice that out of a lot of our blocks now that they are sealed up very well. The blocks that we supply, I make sure they don't have any stripped out bullet holes. Basically make sure we're sending you guys a reliable product. Lots of lessons learned over the years. So, moving on, we got to get this in the machine shop. Well, if we take it right now and I take him, hey man, I'm putting an 81 millimeter piston in this, because that's what we're specing here. It's going to be just a stock Bore B series. The reason I'm picking that is I want whoever uses this engine to get as many vroom vrooms out of it. Vroom vroom booms. So if we're 81, and let's say that a year from now, year and a half, these things are an investment. Like, they cost a good bit of money. By the time you build one, they cost even more. So we want to make your investment last. If at 81, let's say in a year, this guy drops a valve. Let's say he money shifts this thing, because, you guys can't drive. On average, I'm told every other day that, hey man, I'm a good driver. I can go fast. Like, I get this all the time. They're like, what should my car run with this much power? I'm a good driver. Well, how many passes do you have? How many passes do you have on a slick? What tire pressure you can run? All of it. What RPM you can live at? No, that is not how this works. So, they go out, they're on the analog all the time, they money shift this thing, they drop a valve. They trash the piston. Believe it or not, the sleeves will usually look really good, but no matter what, there's a little bit of to it. So let's say they got to go to 82. Now they can go to 82. They can go to 81 and a half. You've got all those increments. So by the time they get up to 84 is what we run on 800 plus blocks, because 84 is a bigger bore, it'll make more power. Debatable. You can do stuff with small displacement. It's doable. But we started at 81, unless somebody's really trying to build like an SFWD, XFWD, whatever they're using now. Anyway, so not to get politically incorrect here. No homo. But anyway, whatever they do, like 84 mil is a good place to start. I don't like starting there on our turbo car customers unless they really want a lot of power. By a lot, I mean 700 plus, 800 plus, somewhere in there. Something that's going to be a track car only, maybe. Because, you've got 4 blow-ups on this thing, 5, 6 blow-ups on this thing. If you go half a mil at a time before you get to 84, like, this block could last you the rest of your life. And for a lot of you guys, you spend $2,000 on a block, whatever it is, man, it's an investment to have. So I do try to be smart about that. That's I'll get that a lot. Hey man, why are you going to 81 on my motor? And I'm like, well, you only wanted 600 horsepower. Well, so-and-so said, well, so-and-so's 84 make more power. But then you don't have as many accidents that can happen. Because accidents do happen. My kids are all here, Anyway, so our next choice, before we can take this to the machine shop, we need to have a set of pistons in our hands. I only have one here. This is technically all we need, but that's not a good idea to just try to order one. This is an 81 mil. It's a dish piston. Oh no, Jarvis likes low compression. I don't like stupid low compression, but what I've been able to learn is that you guys always want to push things. Back in the day when we were on homemade turbo and whatnot, everybody needed low compression. It's like DSM guy stuff, 7.5, 8.5, whatever, so you can crutch bad tuning. Not just bad tuning, there's plenty of intelligent people. Bad tuning is software. Okay? Like the old Chrome days where like you couldn't boost in 5th gear because it would just detonate its butt off and you'd blow the thing up because the timing didn't do what it was supposed to. You know what I mean? So anyway, I like a good It doesn't matter what it is unless it's a D series. And even if it's a D series, I build guitar motors with stock length rods. I don't even care. I'll turn more boost up. Now, we use the Speed Factory long rod most of the time, so that doesn't actually happen. But I like a dish piston. Pistons are happy. They cradle the flame front. Like, look at a Vitara piston. It looks like a bowl of cereal. It looks just delicious, right? So a flat top or a dish is going to make more power and be a little less inconsistent on the tuning side. I have seen the big domes have flame front problems. On the compression side of things, we also don't run flat-faced valves in turbo cars. I get this all the time, people. Even if that fixed valve in my motor, why would I do that? Why would I run a flat-faced stainless valve that's going to hold heat in the tip so that it drops and ruins all of this money? Like, I get it. I get paid for this. I love making money. Everybody likes making money. We have to pay for everything, okay? However, what I don't want to do is make money in stupid ways. I don't need to lie. I don't need to do stupid things to make your money. I'll just tell the truth. If I stop making money, I can go stand at the front door of Walmart and be like, "Hi." They're going to send me a paycheck. They'll do that. They'll actually pay me for that. That sounds better than lying. Anyway, so I like a 9.5 to 1. There are cases on, like, my car, we actually got all the way down to 8 to 1 because we lost control of the combustion. This is not something I invented. This is something that has been used in practice on, like, pro mods and whatnot. But this was Bill Miller's idea. Bill Miller, as in BME, who does all of Speed Factory's, the outlawed car, the former car that got wrecked, all of those. He does all that stuff. So using lower compression when you run out of the limit of your fuel helps. That's another story all entirely. But these are the pistons I like. I like a 9.5 to 1, 81 mil in your case most of the time. If you want to go a little bit more, if it makes you feel better to go 10 to 1, I will. I won't go 11.5. I'm not going to do it. I'll go 9. I'll go 9. I'll go 8.5. I won't go 10.5. Why? Because I don't feel like you need it. Because I feel like that it's going to put everything on the edge. All you guys are running flexible sensors. You get mad at me whenever on the Haltech, whenever it drifts lower than 40% ethanol and your boost starts to go down. The messages start flooding in. That's my boost down, man. Your boost is down because you should put better fuel in the car. Now, if you're out on a trip and you're driving, that's what that's there for. It's not there so you can be cheap and I don't know. It's pretty cheap, right? Pump gas versus E85.
Not much anymore.
I don't know. My wife fills my cars up. I don't know. I'm too lazy. Regardless, so this is our piston choice. We need this. Why do we need the piston? Well, the machine shop's going to measure the outside of the piston, and they're going to take a certain number that I give them, and they're going to make the distance between this piston and these walls what I tell them to. What happens when you first start these things up in the morning, they're going to be a little bit noisy because you're going to have that little, they're not going to be that bad. Like, it's not going to be hot dog down a hallway type stuff, but it's going to be, I have ran that. We've been in that situation on my car where I piston the wall to put it in perspective. This piston, I ended up taking a liberty of highlighting some things for you guys on piston to wall clearance because I'm asked about this and ring gaps more than just about anything. What we have here on the CP piston spec sheet, this is an F20 we're building, but we've got 0030 on the piston to cylinder clearance. The material on the piston matters. However, that's just a fixed number that they don't say much else about. Wiseco is super cool about it because they give you the piston material here, and I'm sure that CP does too. I'm just being mean. But they want a 35, okay? They actually give you the bore in inches because that's the number we're going to use later to do our ring gaps with. But on top of the 0035, we know it's the 26. This is how you read, guys, because I get all these ring gap and the piston to wall messages. This is how you read. Your new pistons have this. So if you look at this right here, you can tell on our 2618 alloy, depending on what you're going to do over here, you can add to it. Now, most of the time at 700, or if I know somebody's going to make 5, I'm going to build a 500 horsepower motor just like this. I'm like, let's go ahead. Let's do upgraded pins. Let's go ahead. Let's make it a little bit more loose. Like they always said, loose is fast. Piston to wall and ring gaps are one of those things that if it's too loose, nobody ever knows. If it's too tight, everybody knows because everything comes out. Regardless, I usually go bigger than recommended because if you tell me 500, let's be real. You guys, if you have the opportunity, you're going to make 700. If you're going to be like, hey, we built that for 7, but can it make 8? You see what I'm saying? So usually on any of the pistons we use, which are usually a CP or a Wasco, maybe an Arias, even though they're made by a CP kind of thing, we're probably going to run something in a 4.5 to 5 piston to wall. On my personal car, I've ran all the way up to 9.5, and lo and behold, that's what most of the fast guys do. They run a lot of piston to wall and a lot of ring gap because they got a lot of heat. That's what happens as the piston and the engine gets hot, everything kind of swells, and you want room for it to swell. It will have more blow by the more piston to wall you have on idle. But once you start really beating on it, as long as you have your crankcase back set up, put together well, that won't be an issue. You just let the air blow out, the advance, nobody cares. So that is how we do that. What we're going to do is we're going to take this block, we're going to take that piston, and we're going to drop it off. We're going to be like, we want this. And then they're going to do that for us. We're going to get back, measure it, make sure they did what we were supposed to, and then we get to assemble this thing, ring apps and bearings and all that other stuff. But another important thing at this level is the wrist pin. So when we pick the pistons out, it's always easiest to go ahead and get the pins that fit correctly. I've got 2 pins here, and you guys can see the difference in these. These are the same brand. This is a Shelf Wasco right here, this little guy right here. We're going to call him Josh. This is Josh. This little guy right here. This is a upgraded pin. We're going to call this Eric. This is Jarvis over here, the one they told you not to worry about. That's what we got. And I don't think I need to tell you the difference. This you don't want a weak chain of things coming down that combustion cycle down to the bearing. You don't want anything being weak there. And this just kind of fills that gap in. Anytime I put a sleeve block together, it's going to get one of these. Like I said, because if you guys are like, I want to make 5, you can make 5 on this pin easy. You can probably make more. I've actually had bending of this pin on a LS car at like 1,200 horsepower blamed on the tuner. It's not the tuner's fault if you bend this. It is you're making too much horsepower. So we don't run these unless we're on a stock sleeve motor. If we're on a stock sleeve motor, this is always the way to go. These big boys right here are what we run. Big boys, look how little it is. These big boys right here are what we run on all of our sleeve stuff. I believe I covered everything here. You guys know why we do the head gasket stuff we do. You guys know how our sleeves are stepped. You know why we pick the pistons we pick. Well, I mean, I guess I could say why we pick Wasco and CP. I don't really know. They've been very reliable. At first, it was a matter of CP had the best name. We're talking like 15 years ago. CP had the best name. Wasco was something I used on motocross bikes. And so they both I just used it and started having really good luck out of them. Haven't had either of them break. So I've had guys that are like, I don't like the skirt design, I don't like this. And I'm like, I'm going to be honest with you. These cost $100 less than the CPs, and we haven't broke these. I am running Shelf Wasco pistons in my 2,300 horsepower LS car. Now, I'm not saying you can do that in this, but what I am saying is and maybe we'll do a video later on comparing this to like an outlaw style piston and why the things are done the way they're done. But in general, this piston, Shelf CP, they're going to do really well. Anybody that's wanting up to 750, I'll usually use this piston. If they're wanting to go north of 750, this CP does seem to be a little bit beefier. Regardless, Wasco's in Ohio. It's really easy to get individual pistons. They're usually like shipped within 2 days if you need one. Normally not because I have a piston that actually grenades, but like drop valves and things. There are the times that I've had to replace those. Usually in all motor cars, actually. A lot of circle track guys, they'll want to build the block, they leave the head stock, and they go out there and ring that thing at 8,000 RPM all the time. But I hope you guys learned something from this. We're going to take this block right here, tag it, drop it off the machine shop, wait patiently, hopefully not very long. You guys know how machinist jail goes. We have a couple good machine shops to help us out. We will get this thing out and get you guys rolling. Let you see some more of how we do this. Peace.